first, I wanted to explore an idea. When I meet new people, I say I work in the spirits industry, and people kind of perk up in a way they never did when I said I worked in biotech. This is an exciting industry to work in, but why is that? What makes spirits unique? To explore that idea, I have asked Eric Kozlik, the host of the Modern Bar Cart podcast, to answer that question. I first met Eric several years ago when he was judging at our international spirits competition and felt that this is someone that talks from the heart when discussing the art of distilling. With that, here's Eric Kozlik.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you all for attending the Keynote panel here at the 20th Anniversary American Distilling Institute Conference and Trade Show. I am super happy to be here with you today because in the 7 years and more than 250 episodes of the Modern Bar Cart podcast, some of the most illuminating conversations that I've had have been with American distillers, and it's great to see a number of those friendly faces in the room here today. But I gotta be honest, when Eric came and asked me to say a few words here about what makes spirits special, unique, I kind of found myself at a bit of a loss to conjure up any deep learnings from the realm of flavor that people who run stills or work tasting rooms or tend bar don't already understand probably better than I do. So instead, I started asking myself, is there anything about spirits that maybe is a little counterintuitive, that perhaps runs contrary to the typical realities and constraints of running a business or creating a product? And as I ran through all the conversations I've had with distillers and spirits experts, I kept encountering one key truth, that distilling is incredibly thermodynamically expensive. We all know clap. Thanks, Rob. We all know the script, right? The first part of it is a story literally as old as time. Seed meets soil, sprout becomes plant, sun and rain become fruit and grain. All this photosynthetic work thrumming away with the intensity of a solar field before we even get our hands on what we call raw inputs. Then, of course, the good part. Enzyme meets starch, sugar and yeast get together, and ethanol is born, our beloved ethanol, this dual-natured molecule that has the capacity both to warm and to burn, just like its companion technology, fire. At this phase, for thousands of years, our brothers and sisters in the art of fermentation have been content to just put the juice in a bottle. But, well, distillers, you all insist on taking it several steps further. You're not content until ferment meets flame. Liquid becomes vapor, rising up only to condense and be brought down again. You are literally yanking particles back and forth between states of matter in an act of thermodynamic whiplash. And as you know, you may do that several times before finally perhaps loading the end product into a barrel harvested from a 100-year-old oak tree, which, by the way, was also burned on the inside by fire, where the contents will oxidize, and hey, who knows, maybe 10 to 50% of it could evaporate before it even hits the bottle. Everything I just described, everything you do involves a great deal of metabolism, combustion, and consumption. And I suspect that in the course of keeping the fermenters cleaned and the stills running, the barrels filled, the shelves stocked, the bills paid, many of us in this room tend to forget the almost insane amount of entropy that's created in order to fill just one bottle of distilled spirits. But I think the reason that we allow ourselves to overlook that tremendous energy debt that we incur is because more so than anything else we could eat or drink, distilled spirits most closely resemble the human brain in their capacity to tell stories, make connections, and store information. I mean, to be sure, if there's any organ in the human body as thermodynamically expensive as the act of distillation, it's the brain, which we know consumes 10 times more energy than its size should dictate. So when we refer to beverage alcohol as a social technology, it's not just because it hits us and inhibitions lower and we feel kind of silly. It's because spirits mirror the action of the mind, with the liquid clicking into the cortex like a key into a lock. We've all had those revelatory moments where a dram of whiskey or a mind-expanding mezcal or a perfect martini, properly garnished and gloriously cold, has seemed to rip the cellophane off the world. This is because spirits fuse the disruptive power of ethanol with the potent, hardwired emotional resonance of flavor to create something that we all inherently crave. That paradoxical sensation of feeling both grounded and transported at the same time. It's all on fire. And when I talk to the best distillers in America, they all speak reverently about the privilege of taking a portion of their own intelligence and hitching it to the photosynthetic, decompositional, and thermal intelligences of plants, microbes, and fire to generate a product that somehow manages to slip between the folds of the human brain and find a home in the memories and emotions of complete strangers. Like I said, it's all on fire. From the energy of the sun to the refining forge of the still to the cascading action potentials and nerve impulses that immortalize your flavors as supporting characters in the living dramas of other human beings. This is the burning creative impulse that drives us to keep making better, more flavorful spirits. But just because we have this noble mission doesn't mean the work is easy, right? Especially when we look out across the landscape of the industry and are forced to confront obstacles like market saturation, distributor consolidation, and other pernicious variables like social media algorithms, and let's throw in a global health pandemic. But it's precisely at times like these when we should lean on the wisdom of those who've come before us, those who've paved the roads on which we now travel. Because as difficult as it seems to run a spirits brand in 2023, there's always historical echoes and rhymes that we can locate that will help us find the way forward.